So Aberdeen is one of Europe's pioneering hydrogen cities. Aberdeen City Council embarked on its hydrogen journey more than 10 years ago and has already demonstrated how demand can be created within cities using hydrogen fuel to power a fleet of 25 buses, 60 public sector vehicles and waste trucks, as well as designing hydrogen for use into the P&J Live Events Complex Energy Centre. The Aberdeen Hydrogen Hub is one of the projects that sits within Aberdeen City Council's H2 Aberdeen initiative. It aims to grow a hydrogen economy in the Aberdeen region. I'm Kenzey Fordyce. I'm a procurement advisor and supply chain development lead for the Aberdeen Hydrogen Hub project, and I work on behalf of BP Aberdeen Hydrogen Energy Limited. The TLA is BPHEL, which isn't much catchier, to be fair. And that's an incorporated joint venture, a public-private partnership between BP and Aberdeen City Council. I have the pleasure of sharing an overview of the Aberdeen Hydrogen Hub project, as well as BP's wider hydrogen ambitions. So a kind of quick overview before I get started, but the Aberdeen Hydrogen Hub project is an innovative, fully integrated energy system project that supports transport decarbonisation and stimulates the hydrogen economy in Aberdeen. Despite its relatively small size in phase 1 of the project, it is a flagship project supporting the UK's energy transition agenda. There's also the potential to connect a floating offshore wind demonstrator in a future phase of the project. The joint venture and the project has a commitment to economic and community benefits, contributing to a long-term hydrogen economy. So, what is BP's hydrogen strategy? Well, we believe that BP can make a significant contribution toward the hydrogen market development since it plays to our strengths. By building on our low-carbon businesses and our existing capabilities, we intend to build a leading position in hydrogen globally. By 2030, we aim to produce between 0.5 and 0.7 million tonnes per annum of primarily green hydrogen, while selectively pursuing blue hydrogen opportunities. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the terminology, blue hydrogen is hydrogen which is produced when natural gas is split into hydrogen and carbon dioxide, and the CO2 is captured and stored, whereas green hydrogen is produced via a process called electrolysis, where water is split into H2 and O2 by an electrolyser powered by renewable energy. So to achieve this, we are accessing new segments, such as the mobility and industrial sectors, which includes the decarbonisation of our own refineries. And we're already putting these capabilities into action. As you can see here, we have a number of projects in development. These are all in the pre-final investment decision stage across the East Coast cluster, so that's Teesside and Humber. We have H2 Teesside, which is a blue hydrogen project, which has 1,200 megawatts of thermal capacity, 2 phases, so that's 500 megawatts in 2027 and 2030. High Green, which is a green hydrogen project which could deliver up to 500 megawatts of hydrogen by 2030. And these two projects combined will realise 1.5 gigawatts of hydrogen capacity, which would realise 15% of the government's 10 gigawatt hydrogen target by 2030. There are a number of other projects such as Capacity NZT Power, which is gas turbine power with carbon capture and storage, CCS, which could produce 860 megawatts of dispatchable low carbon electricity. The NEP, which is the Northern Endurance Partnership Carbon Capture and Storage, which is an offshore joint venture with Equinor and Total Energies. Viking Carbon Capture and Storage, offshore joint venture with Harbour Energy, and that's targeting first injection in 2027 and 10 MPTA by 2030 with significant growth potential and import of CO2 by ship. And finally, the one that's probably most relevant to the people in the room and to me, for that matter, is the Aberdeen Hydrogen Hub project. Now this, as I said, is relatively small. It's only 2.5 megawatts of green hydrogen within the first phase, and it's targeted for a 2025 startup, and it will be powered by a combination of solar and the electricity from the grid. So that's, unfortunately, we did get a nice new graphic of what the Aberdeen Hydrogen Hub will look like, but unfortunately not in time for this slide pack. So yeah, you've got that rather technical looking thing. So on the left-hand side, we have an overview of what the Hydrogen Hub refueling station will look like, and on the right-hand side is the solar farm. So Aberdeen Hydrogen Hub, as I said, is a scalable green hydrogen production, storage and distribution facility in the city powered by renewable energy. Phase 1 of the project would involve building a hydrogen refueling facility for buses, cars, vans and trucks, which will be powered by a solar farm linked by an underground solar grid connection. The renewable energy produced by the solar farm shall be used to produce green hydrogen via a process called electrolysis, which I've mentioned, which splits the water molecules H2O into hydrogen and oxygen. And I'm sure those of you who are local to the area will appreciate that Aberdeen is one of the sunniest cities in Scotland. Pause for laughter, no. But notwithstanding the unseasonably good weather that we have been enjoying over the last week or so, we do realise that there will be periods of low solar power production, and so the hydrogen site has a substation grid connection to power it in these periods of low solar production. This also means that on sunny days such as this, when the solar facility is generating power in excess of the hub's requirements, the excess power can be returned to the grid. So as I've already mentioned, this is a phased development with the potential for links to offshore wind scale up in future phases. So sort of the top along is phase 1, and then it goes down to phase 2 and phase 3. The project seeks to stimulate innovative hydrogen projects and advance take-up of hydrogen technologies in the city. And the overall aim is to position Aberdeen as a centre of excellence for hydrogen technology by using transferable oil and gas expertise and to harness the capacity for renewable power generation in the northeast of Scotland. Although, as I previously mentioned, our intention for phase 1 of the project is to power the hydrogen facility by a combination of solar power and renewable electricity from the grid, there is the potential in future phases for BP's INTOG floating wind project to tie into the hub. So if anyone here is interested in learning more about the INTOG project and or becoming a supplier to the INTOG project, then there's a QR code here you can register your interest. So very high level project timelines, but we did achieve a really key milestone this year when we were granted planning permission for the site in June. And our current ambition for phase 1 is to have the facility producing hydrogen from Q1 2025, which of course is subject to final investment decision, which we hope to take in the next quarter of this year, with construction intended to start almost immediately thereafter. So probably something I'm more comfortable speaking about is the procurement side of things, because I'm sure you probably can tell from my very whistle-stop tour of the technical side that is not my bag. So in terms of procurement for the project, we initially split the project into 4 main packages. So the hydrogen equipment and dispenser package, the electrical package, the civils package and the solar package. And as we are a joint venture with Aberdeen City Council, we're bound to follow the public procurement regulations with respect to those packages that fall within the bounds of the regulations. So the project first approached the market in March time for the hydrogen and the electrical packages on a fixed price lump sum basis. However, the feedback that we got at the time when we issued this first RFP was that the cost reimbursable model works better for this type of work, with it being, I suppose, a relatively new scope to most companies. And so we retendered the packages on this basis. We also sort of identified an opportunity for growth, again from this first market approach. So specifically with regard to the electrical package, we found that there were some contractors who were experienced in carrying out the electrical contestable works, and there were a few contractors that could undertake the full grid connection, site integration and contestable works. And so when we reissued the electrical package tender, we did this on a disaggregated basis and split the package into 2 lots. With respect to the civils package, we did go out on a fixed price lump sum basis because that was probably an area that was more comfortable for the civils market. That was the feedback we got on our pre-market engagement. And we do see that working with them is going to be a great opportunity to build up the local supply chain and really focus on local content, with that being the quote-unquote boots on the ground contract. We're in the process currently of making our internal recommendations for preferred bidders for all 4/5 packages, with a view to awarding the contracts as soon as we can post FID. Of course, taking into account any standstill periods that we will be bound by for the public procurement contracts, so for the hydrogen and the solar packages. And once we've awarded these contracts and onboarded the suppliers, we intend to announce on our website, which I'll share on the next slide, there's a QR code, who these contractors are. So if you identify an opportunity to work as a subcontractor to one of the main package contractors, you'll know who to contact, and you can always get in contact with us through the website and we can facilitate any introductions as well. And as I mentioned on the previous slide, we're hoping that this announcement will be made in the next quarter of this year. So to close, I'd like to take the opportunity to share some of the work that the project and the joint venture is doing to support the development of a local hydrogen economy and supply chain ecosystem. So BP Aberdeen Hydrogen Energy Limited is committed to maximising local content within the project contracts where possible. And to give an example of one of the ways we've identified that there's an opportunity for knowledge sharing and supply chain development, it is actually with regard to local content and the transition to net zero as well. So through our tendering activity, we learned that some bidders were really succinct, targeted in how they answered our RFP questions with regard to local content and the just transition to net zero. And some were less experienced in answering these type of questions, so there was quite a gulf in the quality of answer that we were receiving. So once the project has reached final investment decision and we've awarded our main package contracts, we're going to work with our contractors to share knowledge with the wider supply chain on what good looks like, so that lessons can be learned for future tender exercises, tender opportunities, as we see this as an increasing area of focus, not just for BP, AHEL and BP more widely, but I think there's a sort of growing trend towards that in the wider supply chain. So we're really keen to partner with supplier organisations who can either directly support the project or who are willing to knowledge share on how to develop the hydrogen economy in Aberdeen. So, I'm in the process currently of authoring a supply chain development report with a view to publishing that before the end of the year. So that will be available on our website, which again you can get from the QR code. My colleague has already published a skills and qualifications gap analysis, so my report will be a sibling report to that. And if you're interested in learning about the ways that you can engage with Aberdeen Hydrogen Hub, or if you'd like to share any barriers that you are experiencing if you're trying to enter the hydrogen industry, please feel free to contact us via the email address there, or there's a contact us form on the website. But thank you very much for your time today.